Mr. Narendra Murty, an award-winning author for books that focus on the spiritual aspiration and man's deeper seeking. Narendra Murty specializes in writing in a style and manner that is highly readable and appeals to a wide range of audience. He creatively uses stories, anecdotes, and humor to present deeper philosophical ideas in a simple and accessible form, and hence his writing is extremely popular with the younger generation. His 37 years of passionate and dedicated study span all religion and spiritual traditions, both in Eastern and Western. He has been a sincere student of Sri Aurobindo for the last 20 years and says that after exploring almost all the philosophic and spiritual disciplines of the world, he has finally found his refuge in Sri Aurobindo. He presently volunteers as research associate at BhāratShakti Sri Aurobindo Society and writes every month for Renaissance, our online journal. Narendra Murthy also brings strong organizational experience from his professional work as a divisional manager in the insurance industry. His upcoming book is a thoroughly researched volume which focuses on symbolism in Sanatana Dharma. Please welcome Narendra Murty ji.
Thank you, Ms. Rita. And I thank BhāratShakti for giving me this opportunity. We're all already running behind time, so I would start without much ado. So my subject is Tagore, the mystic. This is a side of Tagore that I have been very influenced by it. I've been listening to Rabindra Sangeet since childhood because I was born and brought up in Calcutta. Though I'm from Andhra, but I was born and brought up in Calcutta, so I'm more of a Bengali rather than a Telugu guy. So, but later in life, when I started reading Tagore's serious works, I discovered the side, the mystic side, the spiritual side of him, which I found very fascinating. I've been a spiritual seeker, and I found that part very fascinating. Now, primarily, I saw that in Calcutta, we see him as a literary person, as a person from literature. We see him as a poet, as a dramatist, as a prose writer, as a lyricist, so even as a painter. But Tagore, the spiritual master, or a person with spiritual wisdom, we don't usually see him in that way. Though in his writings, that divine element is very strong and present, but still primarily we don't see him say in comparison with someone like Ramakrishna or Vivekananda or Sri Aurobindo. We don't exactly put Tagore in that category. We put Tagore in the literary category. But I feel when I read his writings, I felt that Tagore is in no way less than any of our ancient munis and rishis. He's no less than them, and that is very obvious in all his writings, which little bit I'll share today. And there's one more thing which I realized while in Calcutta, while studying Tagore and all that. People who are basically spiritual seekers, they go to Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, or Sri Aurobindo, or other spiritual writers. They hardly ever go to Tagore for spiritual knowledge. And those who are literary persons, they of course go to Tagore, and they are not interested in spirituality. So Tagore, his spiritual side, somewhere it falls in the gap. The literary seekers and the seekers of spiritual knowledge, the spiritual side of Tagore falls in the gap. I felt that in my understanding of Tagore. So I personally feel that Tagore was a sage. He was, like I said, no less than any Muni Rishi of the ancient times. And his philosophy, if we talk about Tagore's philosophy, it is entirely spiritual. The three main areas of his literary works, which in Bengali we call Prakriti, Prem and Puja, nature, love and worship, they are steeped with the divine. Even when you're reading his romantic poetry, sometimes you get confused whether he's writing about human love or divine love. That is the feeling I get when I read his works on love. And of course, in every you pick up any poem on nature, the divine element is present. It's not just description of nature. It's always the divine is lurking behind. So I'll share one or two examples. So there has been two major influences in his life on his philosophy. One is the Upanishadic influence because he was brought up as a Brahmo. His father Devendranath Tagore was a Upanishadic scholar, so he grew up with that Upanishadic grounding. And his whenever he talks of the divine and God, it's the formless God, which the Upanishads also they talk about the formless God. It's not about the form. And he had a very strong Baul influence on him because of his, he if you read his English writings, especially, there he has written extensively about how the Baul philosophy and their songs have influenced him. Bauls are again they are a bhakti cult, but they usually don't refer to a form. It's a bhakti similar to Sufi, or you can say Kabir, Nanak. It is bhakti, but it is formless, where the God where God is formless. So Baul is very similar to that. They don't have scriptures. They don't have any organized way of organized religion and all that dogma. Nothing of that. So these are the two major, you can say, streams of influence in Tagore's life: the Upanishadic and the Baul. And his philosophical writings. If we take his philosophy, what are his writings which reflect his philosophy? I think there are two main sources. One is his journal, two-volume journal called Shanti Niketan, which doesn't get much attention because it is very highly spiritual and it is very, very deep and not very accessible too. And his English writings. His English writings, mostly, they are pure philosophy. Beluji mentioned some of his speeches or writings on education, but his other English writings, most of them were delivered as lectures in India and abroad. They describe his philosophy. He himself called that the religion that he followed. He said it's a poet's religion. My religion is a poet's religion. That was his own declaration. So, what is that poet's religion? In Tagore's works, he always talks about the formless God, but all the time he talks about forms. So he is constantly navigating between the formless and the forms in all his poems. You would see that he is referring to the divine and he would talk about forms of this world, of nature. That's seamless communication between the form and the forms and the formless. That is an essential element which I found in his mysticism. So I would just share my a few slides I have prepared. I would just
Okay, he's logged out now. Maybe he will log back in. So let's just wait for a minute or so. But I was just reading the chat box. Thank you for all the wonderful messages of appreciation. And there was one question, I believe, maybe Jishnu, you can address while we still wait for Narendraji. I think it came in context of your Nishikanto. Dhanashekaranji was asking if this is the Nishikanto who had requested
That's right.
mother.
It is that same Nishikanto who
Yeah.
had asked mother, and I think the only instance where mother kept her feet on somebody's chest, Nishikanta had done. So just for everyone, maybe I can just tell that. So Nishikanta was very, very sick and he had diabetes and other ailments. Very sick, almost he was about to leave his body. And I think Darshan was there and mother said, ask him to wait till Darshan. Darshan at the 4 days that mother and Shobindu used to give meat each one, give meat the disciples. And after darshan was done, then mother was free and Nishikanto asked, our physical education department people, they made a stretcher and carried Nishikanta to mother to meet. And then Nishikanta asked her that you put your feet on my chest. They carried her and she did it. And he was cured for that time. And he, as rightly said, he lived another 10 years after that.
Yeah. I don't know, I messaged Narendra ji about whether what's going on with him. But if there's any other question or comment for any of the other talks, we can take them now while we wait for Narendra ji to join.
Madam,
Yes, yes, Atanu.
any listener can be participate?
Yes, please tell us. Yeah, share your insight or comment.
Yes, the Atanu. One, the 1905, it's Sri Aurobindo wrote Durga Stotram. On the same year, Sri Rabindranath Tagore wrote its a poem, which is the Bengali word, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে. Then in English, it is written, translated by Anjan Ganguly. If no one responds to your call, move alone. Oh dear, move alone. If no one speaks, oh ill-fitted. If everyone looks the other way, or afraid, you speak out alone, loud enough, with open heart. যদি তোর ডাক, in Bengali language, it is the raga, it is baul song, and it's the means dadra tala.
Yes.
ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে, তবে একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে. কথা না কয়, যদি সবাই থাকে মুখ ফিরায়, সবাই করে ভয়, তবে পরাণ খুলে বলো রে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে. Thank you.
Thank you, Atanuji. I don't know, maybe others can correct, but
Yeah, I'm back.
as far as I know, Hymn to Durga was composed in 1909. But it doesn't matter. But the idea, the spirit, is very much there. So thank you for singing a little bit of that beautiful song by Tagore. Thank you, Atanu. Yes, Narendra ji is back. So we were, yeah.
I'll start with my presentation. Can you see the screen?
Yes. Please carry on.
Yeah. So this is what he says about his first realization of the divine. My first realization of the divine was through my feeling of intimacy with nature. The manifestations of nature that make life rich and stimulate our imagination in their harmony of forms, colors, sounds, and movements. This is what he says, that through nature, he experienced the divine. And this two lines I've taken from one of the songs of Gitanjali, the Bengali Gitanjali. This doesn't feature in the English Gitanjali. তুমি নব নব রূপে এসো প্রাণে, এসো গন্ধে, বরণে, এসো গানে. Come into my soul in new and ever newer ways. Come in fragrances, in colors, come in songs. You see, he's talking about the divine and he's talking about the forms of this world, fragrances, colors, and songs. Then in the next uh, slide, you see he talks about his first spiritual experience. He's very specific what he experienced. When I was 18, a sudden spring breeze of religious experience for the first time came to my life and passed away, leaving in my memory a direct message of spiritual reality. One day, while I stood watching at early dawn, the sun sending out its rays from behind the trees, I suddenly felt as if some ancient mist had in a moment lifted from my sight, and the morning light on the face of the world revealed an inner radiance of joy. The invisible screen of the commonplace was removed from all things and all men, and their ultimate significance was intensified in my mind. So that was his first religious experience or spiritual experience, which he experienced through nature. It was an experience of the sunrise and the dawn. Then he talked, like I told you, he talked about the poet's religion. He said, my religion was a poet's religion. I have made the confession that my religion is a poet's religion. All that I feel about it is from vision and not from knowledge. This is exactly, you see, what our rishis talk about, drishti, truth seeing. I'm sure that there have come moments in my experience when my soul has touched the infinite and has become intensely conscious of it through the illumination of joy. It has been said in our Upanishad that our mind and our words come away baffled from the supreme truth. But he who knows truth through the immediate joy of his soul is saved from all doubts and fears. This is the Taittiriya Upanishad slok that he's talking about. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidwan na bibheti kutaschaneti. So your mind and your intellect may be baffled, but once you have known the bliss of Brahman, then you don't fear anything or anyone. So that is his experience. Now I'll straight away go to some of his, you know, some lines that I've taken from his poems. Just a few lines I've taken, not the whole poems. So this is, this is one wonderful thing he says, that just as we take delight in the divine too takes delight in us. You see, our eyes cannot see the face. To see our own face, we need a mirror. We see the reflection of our face in that mirror. Tagore Tagore says that world is the mirror where God sees himself. We are the mirror where he sees himself. And if man did not take joy in God's radiance and beauty, then he would have remained, formless, colorless being in the nothingness of eternity. It's because man is there, because man adores God through his love, God enjoys that love. And this beautiful song from Gitanjali, I have written the translation also. Just these 4 lines I've taken here. Tai tomar anondo amar por, tumi tai eshecho niche. আমায় নইলে ত্রিভুবনেশ্বর তোমার প্রেম হতো যে মিছে. Thus it is that thy joy in me is so full. Thus it is that thou hast come down to me. O Lord of all heavens, where would where would thy love be if I were not? I think I have missed one word. Where would thy love be if I were not? So even God needs the reciprocation of his love, because the world is his love. It's an expression of his love. And you see this, uh, we have this idea in our Upanishads that God wanted to enjoy himself in many forms, and that is why he created this world, because God wanted to enjoy himself. That slok from the Taittiriya Upanishad, so kamayat bahusyam prajayeti. God wanted to enjoy himself. That is why he became many. So this is the theme. You see, this is that Upanishadic theme, that where would thy love be if I were not? So this is kind of, we in our reciprocation, God finds delight. This is one idea from the Gitanjali. Then we have this, of course, Jishnu touched on this. It's very, it's nice that Jishnu and I both thought of this poem. Boiragyo sadhone mukti she amar noy. So it's about life affirmation. It's about taking delight in God's creation. This is what we call Anandavad. Like the Buddha's approach, we call Dukkha. That world is sorrow, world is suffering. That is the Buddha's approach. But Tagore's approach is Anandavad. The world is beautiful. It is God's creation. It is delight. We take delight, God takes delight. That is Tagore's philosophy, Anandavad. He's an Anandavadi. So that is what is here, this world affirmation. Deliverance is not for me in renunciation. I feel the embrace of freedom in 1,000 bonds of delight. Thou pourest for me the fresh draught of thy wine of various colors and fragrance, filling this earthen vessel to the brim. Earthen vessel means his being. No, I will never shut the doors of my senses. The delights of sight and hearing and touch will bear thy delight. So this is Gitanjali 73. Taking delight in God's creation, life affirmation, loving life, being an Anandavadi. Then death. Not only affirmation of life, but even treating death as a divine guest. If in his later poems, he is always talking about the guest will come and what am I going to offer to him? That is how he writes, This poem is one of my favorites. Moron jedin ashbe amar duare. These are his translations. On the way, when death will knock at thy door, what wilt thou offer to him? Oh, I will set before my guest the full vessel of my life. I will never let him go with empty hands. All the sweet vintage of my autumn days and summer nights, all the earnings and gleanings of my busy life, I will place before him at the close of my days when death will knock at my door. So when death comes as a guest, I will give my full life as an offering to death, not being scared of death or not being, afraid and all that. Rather welcoming death as a guest, just as loving life, taking delight in life, equally loving death and honoring death with his offering. So this is one, and I think the last one is, what would be his last message to the world when he leaves? So when death comes, all this Anandava, taking delight in creation, loving God, all this. But when he goes, what is his final message to us? This is his final message to us. যাবার দিনে এই কথাটি বলে যেন যাই. That is the song, Gitanjali 96. I wish you could, those of you who are not Bengalis, at least read these Gitanjali English translations. When I go from hence, let this be my parting word, that what I have seen is unsurpassable. In the playhouse of infinite forms, I have had my play. That means this world is a playground for him. He has, in many of his poems, he says he's like a child who is playing in the playground of the divine. In the playhouse of infinite forms, I have had my play. And here I have caught sight of him that is formless. In the midst of all these forms, he has caught sight of him who is formless. My whole body and my limbs have thrilled with his touch, who is beyond touch. And if the end comes here, let it come. Let this be my parting word. So this is absolute life affirmation, loving life, Anandavad. That is how I see Tagore. That is his mysticism. So life affirmative, so positive, so full of joy. That is what he calls his poet's religion. And that is the mystic Tagore that I have discovered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Narendra ji.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Any comments, questions? So I know it's been quite a long session, but I think delightful. talking about Tagore is delight. So Anandavad, we have to experience it. So if there's any comment or quick short question, please feel free, just unmute yourself. Okay, Swati ji is saying it was never boring. Thank you. That's good to know. Okay, we do have Indrajit's offer to sing, but I just thought before
Can I just say
yes,
one
please.
thing before
Please.
that? I should have included some of the English translations, but I came from a place, I was steeped in that childhood mode. Everything was in Bengali. But if later we have it on YouTube or something, I will have that translated, especially that song, if you later.
Yes, please, if you can send it to me when we get this
Sure.
video ready for YouTube. we
Everything is
definitely-
available in English, really.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
the
we can
songs are
even
available.
add, I can check if they can add a slide in
Sure.
the video itself. So that will be great. Thank you. That's great. I just wanted to mention, Narendra ji was talking about the Anandvad, and Jishnu mentioned Tagore's meeting with Sri Aurobindo twice, 1907, 1908. So the Anandvad comes, when 1907 Sri Aurobindo was arrested, Tagore joked with him that, what, you were arrested just for a day? You just, fooled us or something like that. And you gave us a fear just for nothing. And then Sri Aurobindo joked with him, not for long. And then a year later, of course, he was arrested for a year. So it's like, they were having a delightful moment about a charge like sedition and arrest and, revolutionary activities. So it was just very nice. So, yeah. When the two poets, the Rishi poets met, they had to make a joke about the arrest. So I thought it just came to my mind. Any comment or question from anyone before we invite Indrajit to sing the song? No, okay. I guess in short presentations, we were very clear. So there are, but thank you so much for sticking for these 2 hours with us. Indrajit, would you like to, where is he? Yeah, here he is. Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Would you like to turn on your video? Can you do it? Okay, he's here. Dressed
Yeah,
for the
thank you.
occasion. Wonderful, great.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to render a Tagore song. Yes. I'll sing one of his songs, Rabindra Songam. Akash bhora surjo tara bisho bhora pran তাহারি মাঝখানে আমি পেয়েছি মোর স্থান বিষয়ে তাই জাগে জাগে আমার গান আকাশ ভরা অসীম কালে যেহিনলে জোয়ার ভাটায় ভুবন দোলে নারীতে মোর রক্ত ধারায় লেগেছে তার টান বিষয়ে তাই জাগে জাগে আমার গান আকাশ ভরা ঘাসে ঘাসে পা ফেলেছি বনের পথে যেতে ফুলের গন্ধে চমক লেগে উঠেছে মন মেতে, ছড়িয়ে আছে আনন্দেরই দান, বিষয়ে তাই জাগে জাগে আমার গান, কান পেতেছি চোখ মেলেছি ধরার বুকে, প্রাণ ঢেলেছি জানার মাঝে অজানারে, করেছি সন্ধান বিষয়ে তাই জাগে জাগে আমার গান, আকাশ ভরা। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you,
so much.
Inderjeet.
Thank you.
Just impromptu volunteering. So that's really nice. Very nice. Thank you so much. I think we can conclude at this point after this.
Just
Very-
one thing
a
I
very
wanted to
apt
share.
song.
Yeah.
Sorry, a very apt song to end the evening. I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
One thing I just wanted to share, I missed. So one of the participants here, and she stays in UK. And when I first time met her, she told me that when she was visiting Avon at Shakespeare's birthplace, she saw that there is a bust of Tagore. And she said that I felt so proud that one Indian person's bust is there, statue is there, that recognition. I think that's the way that he still makes us proud, us as people, and contributing in our lives. I thought I will share that.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. And, at many places in your talk and in Narendra's talk, even in what Gayatri was sharing, the influence of Tagore's profound wisdom that came through songs, and in his writings on education also, the idea of vision, the seeing comes again and again. What he saw, the truth that he sees and how it gets reflected in his work. So I thought I'll just share the last sentence of that speech that he gave, which was in the Center for Indian Culture, about the announcement of Vishwa Bharati. He ends that with saying, and this is the Vedantic Rishi, he alone sees who sees all beings as himself. He alone sees who sees all beings as himself. So with that inspiration, let me just thank you first of all the speakers, all the panelists, and Biswajita for, sort of keeping us under control so we won't get carried away with our appreciation. But thank you to all the participants for joining us for a little more than 2 hours of this webinar on celebrating Tagore's legacy on his birthday, on his Jayanti. The song that I came to sing still remains unsung. So we'll continue more programs like that. So thank you so much.